Brief update to the Star Wars Battlefront situation. This is pretty bad, and I try not to talk about Star Wars unless it's something fun, but I did make a video about if Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection was worth buying or not. If you didn't see that review, it's the video before this one. I urge you to check it out. But one of the big allegations before the game even launched was that it was using mods from players. Like, people made these little content things, they made mods, they added in animations, or they added in heroes, and the allegation was essentially that Aspyr was using those mods in their game without crediting anyone. The reason I didn't talk about that very much in my video was because I was still waiting to see full-on, documentation of that. That said, it has been updated, and the modder known as I Am a Shaman over on Twitter has provided some really, really compelling evidence that basically Aspyr Media launched Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection not only broken and buggy, but also on the back of work done by the community that they didn't do at all. Now, we're going to talk about this a little bit today. I know people are going to have different opinions on mods, the legality behind what Aspyr is doing, everything. I am not a lawyer. I'm just going to talk to you about it in the best way I understand, and the best way that I think can be broken down for just people who care about what's going on, but also are not copyright lawyers, all right? So if you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It's going to be a little shorter, but it is something that really frustrates me. Lots of ways to help support the channel are in the description down below. One of them's our Fortnite code, which I always flash in my videos. People get mad at me about it, but hey, my videos get soft locked all the time on YouTube. Most of my videos are done for fun, not for money. So there you go. I'm going to keep showing you my Fortnite code because it's fun. Now, Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection is just a mess in general on pretty much every platform. It was kind of stable on the Nintendo Switch, it worked okay on PS5 with a lot of issues, and it was a hit or miss on Xbox. That said, it really shouldn't have been such a bad launch for decades-old games. I think pretty much anyone could agree on that. Now, some more frustrating evidence has come out about this game that, like I said, it actually did use these mods at launch, at least according to the allegations, and there's a lot of proof here that seems to back that up. Twitter user I Am a Shaman, the actual modder who had worked on some of these things, including hero mods where they had added in different animations, different lightsaber attacks, and basically they had actually, done a ton of work to make these different things work, including Kit Fisto's bubble effect that he's able to do. Well, they actually did back up some of the code. They did show some of the files. They showed some of the stuff going on here, and it's pretty bad. But basically, Aspyr was tasked with getting the DLC from the original Xbox version running on every platform, and instead of actually taking the time to do that, just like instead of taking the time to actually remaster the game in any meaningful way, where they instead opted to just use AI upscaling and a lot of stuff like that, it appears that what they did was they just took this modder's files, reworked them into different versions of the game, and then built off of that. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of documentation of this, including Kit Fisto's bubble effect. I'm going to show some of the things that the Twitter user said here, because I do think that they deserve credit for the work they did, saying things like, seriously, Aspyr, I'm beginning to feel insulted. Nintendo Switch launched with just straight up all my hero stuff from the mod. Same glitches and bugs, we've data mined it, and it's the exact same files using the proper lightsaber attack animations. This is before patch. To back up this claim, here's a screenshot of that bubble effect taken in 2020. It's hard to make it out in the video since it is in motion, but trust that it is the same. Also saying, so to add on one final time, the patches on every console that were designed to remove my content actually haven't removed them. They are still in the files, just being unused now. Final releases have uncredited content in the files. And so what is worth noting here, by the way, is that technically they, I believe, have the legal right to do this, but there is a difference between legality and morality. Unfortunately for companies, there's not. But if somebody in the community put the work and effort into this, right? Those people who are doing mods, who are building up the community, who are keeping the hype alive, who are one of the reasons why your game is still talked about today, because of the lively scene on PC, the people putting work and time into it, which we can have all our opinions on if we want, right? I've heard people say before, like, well, why are they doing it for free anyway? Why would you do something for free that you could be going to get paid for? Why don't you go into game design? I hear all kinds of stuff like that, all right? That's not the point of this conversation, really, to me. That's not the point of the argument. The point here is that you have a lot of passionate fans who have helped make your game and your series better. They've helped improve it. They've helped keep it alive. They've helped keep that conversation going. And so I understand that legally you don't have to really pay someone for that work that they did because they weren't contracted. And technically, in the LucasArts EULAs and copyright notices and all that stuff, I even found an example of them saying basically, hey, if you mod our games, we have the right to do X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. I understand that legally. The problem with this, though, is that they didn't even basically say, hey, we used some content from cool community member, blah, blah, blah. They didn't even say like, hey, I Am a Shaman made this, and what we did was we actually looked at the good work they did, and we built off it. That's all you'd have to do technically, because yes, you don't have to pay the person. Now, I think personally, when you have fans that are doing a good job, you should do what Aspyr did before, where Embracer Group above Aspyr brought on fans of Tomb Raider to help work on the Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remastered collection. They took people who knew what they were doing, took people who were very passionate, paid them, and got them to help them make the thing, and now that thing did very well. But instead, in this case, Aspyr has opted to basically use these mods and just take them and just patch over them, essentially, to my understanding, which is really, really shady. This is something where I think even if you ignore the legality and you say, well, they didn't have to pay the person, even if you ignore the legality and you say, well, they worked on this thing for free in their own fun time, the IP belongs to this other group, they can do what they want with the IP and those files. Ignore all of that stuff, because I understand that legally you can do that. The problem is that it's such a bad faith move that destroys a lot of the goodwill that you have with your community. Star Wars has been in a very, very tumultuous spot for years, for many, many years now, especially since the Disney acquisition. It's been a very split camp of like, oh, I love this thing, I hate you because you like this thing, I hate you because you don't like this thing. Star Wars has become very mild in anger, arguments, and bad faith discussions. So when you as a company come in and you see the stuff that this fan did, and you say, we're going to jack that for ourselves, and we're just going to put that right in here and build off of it and hope nobody notices, that's real bad. That would already be a bad look in and of itself. But before the game came out, and I believe I said this before, but I've had to re-record this video a few times because I'm having a stuttering problem tonight. Before this came out, though, they had straight up said, like, hey, that mod footage you saw in the trailers before that we got called out on because that was an allegation before? Well, that was placeholder footage. We used that when we were still working on the game. We actually did that ourselves. We fixed it. That's not stuff that's in the game. Don't worry about it. They had basically said, hey, look, placeholder, don't worry about it. It's not going to be in the final release. But what do you know? It was. It was in the final release. So it's not just all the bad faith stuff that they're doing. It's also the fact that they lied about it, that they lied about using this person's stuff and instead built off of that in one of the laziest remaster, re-release whatevers that I've seen ever. And it's crazy to me how short the release window was between the Lara Croft, the Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remastered collection and this, and how massive of a gap the difference is. One of them, by the way, was led, like I said, by fans. It was actually led by Tomb Raider modders and creators who took on a leadership role in this company, actually, or at least on this team, and when they were brought in by Embracer and Aspyr and stuff, and they worked really, really hard. Why? Because they cared. Then we see an example like this where Aspyr got Star Wars Battlefront. They clearly did not give a shit about it at all, and what they did was they took someone else's stuff, built off of it, threw in some AI upscaling, regurgitated it, and spit it back out to you for $35. Now, unfortunately, there's a lot of people like me where I believe I exceeded the 2-hour limit to get a refund. I also don't know if Nate would be mad at me if I refunded this game because he wanted me to wait for it to get fixed because he wanted to play online together. But regardless, if you bought this, I honestly just recommend you get a refund before you spend too much money on it, or time on it. I don't think you really want to be stuck with a game that is just stealing from the fans. It's so unfortunate. I broke down a lot of the problems with this release in my previous video, which got soft blocked by YouTube because they thought it was a POLITICAL video. You know how there's people who are running in a race right now to win a leadership position in my country, the US? Well, they thought that me mentioning the Clone Troopers faction name was somehow about that. I don't know how, but that video got kind of soft blocked. It just straight up stopped being shown. So if you haven't seen my review on that, I get into a lot of the details on what's happening with this game. Overall, I'm just very frustrated. I understand there will always be the people who like devalue the modders, but I really don't think that that's a good faith argument. I think it's the same as like going after YouTubers who are talking about your stuff, or going after fan artists. You know, like if you're drawing fan art of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Disney decides to go after you and take it and sell it. That's shitty. Whether it's allowed or not, I think people should be able to agree that it's shitty behavior. It's something you don't want to do because you're taking those most vocal, passionate people in the community, giving them the finger and stomping on their toes and then expecting no repercussions for it. And I'm so tired of seeing this stuff, man. It's so frustrating. I don't know. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more content. Normal ways to support the channel are in the description as well. We do have our own store where we do transformative stuff as well. I'm surprised, that Aspyr doesn't come and like rob my house or something. But what we do is we actually go to comic book stores. We take comic books and manga that they can't sell, that are damaged, maybe in transit or from years of use. We take some of the pages, we turn them into recycled comic book coasters, keychains, resin pieces essentially for your house. Also, my wife Jill does really cool handmade jewelry as well. Lots of fun stuff over there on cosmobunny.shop. Our Fortnite code is actually also a 10% off discount for your first purchase. But regardless, I'm so bummed about this. It's just so sad. I was so excited for this game to come out again. I don't know. Hope you have a fantastic day. Leave a like, subscribe. As always, stay shway.